There's a couple. I usually save the more like introspective stuff towards later in the sequencing, towards the end of the record, just in terms of flow. And I mean, so much of hip hop is, you know what I mean, just feeling invincible, you know, talking shit, just, you know what I mean, like aggressive, hard, you know what I mean, music, like, and there's that on there, and that's kind of like, that's the layers of me. There's like the extraordinary G Eazy, who's this like larger than life guy, and then there's the ordinary Gerald, who's is just like, you know what I mean, a regular guy, and there's always gonna be those, you know, two sides. I mean, I'm a Gemini. There's always gonna be those two sides, but there's always gonna be those, you know, kinds of records. But there's one song towards the end of the album. It's called "Everything Will Be Okay," featuring Kaylani, um, and I did it with her because I felt like she was the only person who kind of like understood and the sentiment, you know what I mean, and shared some of it. The first couple verses are kind of directed to my hometown, you know, the friends I grew up with, um, my little brother, my mom, my family, and it's like these demons I have inside of me. This, you know, this guilt about like leaving home, you know, about like chasing this dream, um, you know, and anytime you really put yourself first and you want to be great at something, you know what I mean, you don't get anywhere without, you know what I mean, like taking a journey and really, you know, it costs you stuff along the way. You sacrifice a lot, and there's always going to be those voices in the back of your head of like, you know, why didn't you stay? You know, you turned your back on us, whatever, you left, you put yourself first, you know, in times of need, and, you know, in dark times, you weren't there. You were out chasing this selfish dream of, you know what I mean? But then on the other hand, it's like, this is all I've ever wanted in life. You know what I mean? This has been my dream since a youth, and, you know, I would be foolish not, you know, to like take that leap, to take this chance or whatever, you know, to try to win, to be able to come back home a winner and give back, you know what I mean? But it's like you don't get that without sacrifice. And you know, it's really just about the journey of life, and you know, how things can come full circle. Um, and then the last verse, uh, I tell a story about someone who is real important in my life. It's a story I'd never even told to some of my closest friends. Um, you know, till the day I made the record, like some of my closest best friends had never even known about this person or known this story. Um, and it, it it's about this woman named Melissa who my mom dated when I was a kid. Um, and around the time I was like 11 or 12 is when she kind of came into the picture, and my mom had left my dad years ago. And, you know, I mean, imagine being a kid, like, you don't really understand it, and, you know, not being able to, like, accept it all the way, you know, and, um, you know, we're told to be, you know, accepting and, you know, especially of different, but it's tough as a kid, you know what I mean? You're like, you don't understand why, you know, there's another woman in the house, and what, you know, what this is. And in retrospect, that, like, you know, being embarrassed of you know, not being more open and accepting. So anyway, through the years, like, you know, finally, like, opening up and being brave enough to, you know, whatever, and her growing close, and her becoming this kind of like parental figure in my life, and me, you know, coming to terms with it. Um, but around the time her and I finally, like, you know, got close, she had a really dark, um, she had her, you know, she she was manic depressive, and she was on, like, you know, a lot of pills, and it kind of and she was living with us at the time, and she passed from an overdose, and I had found her myself in the house, and and it was that, like, it just kind of like opens you up to, like, understand that life is short, and that understand, why you're here. You know what I mean? Like, love those around you, appreciate those who, are there, um, with positive energy and love, and you know, care about you, and you know, uh, and it all comes kind of full circle to say that, like, you know, although, like, the journey, has all these ups and downs, it's like, that's what makes it. But in the end, like, yeah, the studio experience, writing and cutting that song, I mean, it was a little awkward in a sense, because it's like something very personal for me. In my head, it was therapeutic for me, to put it on paper, to write the song, to record it and get it out. But it's like, the producer, the engineer, the friends in the room were like hearing it back as I'm in the booth and I'm like recording it, and I'm trying to not cry, like, honestly, like, to keep it together, and I'm cutting this song, and I mean, I came out and they were, everyone was like, everyone was also on the, the verge of tears, and they were just like, yo, like, respect, like, in music, I think when you really open up and you bear it all, and it's scary, it's hard, man, it's real hard. I mean, I'm about to be naked in front of the world when this record comes out, and, like, I share those demons, like, stuff I'm not proud of, stuff I'm afraid of, stuff I'm scared of, like, stuff that haunts me, like, that's bearing it all. That's not easy, man. It's easy to talk slick. It's not easy to really open up sometimes, but then that's the power of music, is that when you let people in, when you let the listeners in, the relationship is closer, and the music is more powerful, and it's, it has, like, a lasting impact. It's like, I made the song, to, if anything, for me, to, like, to get it out and to fully go there and to challenge myself to say, as a, as an artist or a songwriter, I think to display that pain and to pour it out is healthy, and is powerful. So that was the exercise for me.